Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we are discussing the most sophisticated regatta timer ever created. It's the Ulysse Nardin Marine Regatta. See it and own it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos. And please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this reversing countdown and count up chronograph. The first time I saw this watch was at SIHH 2017. It was the big splash for the nautically themed Ulysse Nardin's return to SIHH from Baselworld, and SIHH truly more intimate, high horology, a better fit for the UN brand, and this piece was perhaps the best homecoming present one could ask for. Now, it is the only chronograph I've encountered that can count down to the start of a sailboat race and then start counting up automatically. First, let's talk about the fit and then discuss the 650 plus parts inside the case and what they do. You can see the watch is big, 44 millimeters across the round of the case, not including chronograph pusher's crown or crown guard, and also not including that pusher adjuster at 10 o'clock that programs the countdown. The watch is thick, but perhaps not as thick as you'd expect given what's inside. The timepiece is 15 millimeters thick, and it should have no trouble clearing a suit jacket cuff, a sports jacket, or blazer sleeve. From lug to lug, it's actually a bit more compact than you might expect given its diameter, 52.7 millimeters across the wrist, and the lugs are short, stubby, and tightly downturned. So in conjunction with the hybrid hinge and rubber strap system, the watch fits well on a smaller wrist. I would even say, and let me give you one more sense of reference. My wrist being 16 centimeters in circumference, I believe there's enough clearance at the edges of the wrist that you could wear this watch with the appearance of proportion and security on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. Now let's open it up. You can see it is Ulysse Nardin's characteristic double deployant clasp, and it's all in titanium. Let's start with the strap where it joins the lug and then work our way down. So as you can see on both sides, the strap is retained by screws which are nicely polished to contrast with the satin of the lug shoulder. You'll also note the integrated look that achieves, almost like the look of a watch on a bracelet, but with the comfort and flexibility of a strap. There's no daylight between strap end and case. Now you can see the double hinged system allows it to curve easily around a tight bend of a smaller wrist, and you can also see how dramatically it thins out as it reaches the underside of the wrist. Now it is a strap that you cut to length, and it's combined with a very handsome satin finished titanium clasp. So you'll note that the cradle system, the inside of the body, is actually curved to match the arc of the underside of your wrist, and then when closed, the system features twin triggers for release, so it can't simply pop open. On a big, heavy, and expensive sports watch, I like to see a twin trigger release, a double folding clasp because it doesn't have the one big up and over fold that'll pinch smaller wrists, and I like to see the strap secured to the case with screws. This watch succeeds on each count. Now, the timepiece has a handsome steel case with a couple of different finishes, as you'll note the contrast between satin and polish, the bevel on the flank of the lug beautifully executed. There's a transition to a sheer flank that's also satin finished, and you can see that the conical curvature of the case band is all of high polish. The art design department worked overtime on this one. Small things like the bevel of the lugs, the contrast between the polish of the screws and the satin of the flank, the inlay of rubber to the programming button, as well as the hoods of the chronograph pushers and the shoulder of the crown. You'll also note that this ridged or coined style bezel, each individual recess features a small swatch of the same navy blue rubber that's used on the pushers, the crown, and the strap. It is handsome. Now let's talk a little bit about the function of the watch, because what sets this watch apart from everything else in the regatta timer segment isn't its ability to be programmed or its flyback functionality. It's not that it's a countdown, because that's fairly germane to the type. It's the fact that once this one is done counting down to your sailboat race, it will start counting up again. So let's take a look at the geography of the dial as we wait for this one to start counting down. You can see all of the appliques are hand applied, so it's not a printed dial. You can see that there are plenty of different planes and focal points. The dial has great depth to it. The yellow on blue is a phenomenal high contrast combination, and you can see that it's quite logically laid out. Everything's arrayed along a central axis from 12 to 6. You have the date window with bidirectional quick sets, so you can rapidly set it forward or backwards. You have a mono counter for as you can see, chronograph minutes and hours at 6 o'clock, like a Patek Philippe 5960. You have broad, highly stylized hands. There we go. Now we're counting back. You see how it reached 0, and then it begins the count up once more. The other thing worth mentioning that you can use it as a conventional chronograph. If you want to just start it, it will work in that fashion as well. If you want it to work as a countdown mechanism, you can program as many minutes in as you like, and then you start the countdown. And again, once it reaches 0, it starts back up again. So the system is remarkably durable, remarkably smart, and remarkably transparent in that you just wait for the countdown and then you start sailing your boat. The count up pretty much takes care of itself. Moreover, the watch features a movement that is unique to the piece, the UN 155. Okay, 67 joules over 650 parts. There's quite a good deal going on in there, and it's actually protected by a patent that applies specifically to the reversing mechanism. So you have ceramic rotor bearings, you have a silicon escapement and silicon hairspring for anti-magnetism and high efficiency. You have a 3-day automatic winding power reserve. It does feature hacking or stop seconds, so if you were to screw the crown out, you would have the ability to stop everything and synchronize precisely to a reference time, such as a race timer or an atomic clock. And of course, you've got a column wheel chronograph mechanism that is quite crisp to actuate. Now you may wonder, what is the flyback of which I spoke before? Well, the watch will actually, once you stop it and you restart it, it will actually fly back to whatever the nearest minute is on the elapsed countdown, which means if you're closer to the next minute, it will actually fly forward to that minute rather than flying back to the previously set time. Of course, you can also, I may as well show how this works. You can program up to 10 minutes, and you can actually do the full loop around the dial. So the watch is programmable. It is a flyback/fly forward, remarkably sophisticated. I find that this might be the most useful chronograph of them all for everyday use, because you can use it as everything from an egg timer to a barbecue timer to a countdown to the remaining time till your next meeting resumes. You can use it if you have a wait for anything from food cooking at a restaurant to the kids' time out. It's actually quite convenient. But more importantly, it doesn't limit you to regatta timer functions, as it does have a conventional tri-register chronograph built in with hours, minutes, and seconds. Ultimately, it's also fairly tough with the 100-meter water resistance, the anti-magnetic escapement and hairspring, and a full balance bridge dual-anchored with a free-sprung index. Very tough, shock-resistant, anti-magnetic, and sufficiently water-resistant that you could use it for its intended purpose and not worry about falling overboard. Beautifully made, surprisingly compact, and amazingly original in its underlying engineering. You can see and you can own this Ulysse Nardin Marine Regatta on our website.